Alberta Debate and Speech Association Junior High Debate Briefing. My name is Reyhan Habib, and I am the Southern Alberta Alumni Representative. I'm happy to be able to introduce Junior High Debate to many today and offer a refresher to many of our veteran judges. Before I begin, I want to extend a huge thank you to all of the judges in the room for volunteering their time to support debate in our province. In this presentation, we will cover what debate is, where you come in as a judge, a Canadian National Debate flowchart and the 6 speeches, the criteria to evaluate debate rounds, the new Canadian National Style Junior High ballot, the Canadian National scoring range, feedback, and final considerations. Let's begin with the central question. What is debate? Debate is a discussion of a resolution or topic. Resolutions are worded as, this House believes that, this House would, this House believes that judging debate is wonderful fun. I would strongly be in favor of the proposition, where my bias included, if that was the topic. But that is how debate topics or resolutions are phrased. The proposition, the government, the affirmative team on one side of the room argues for the resolution. They are in support of the change and they push for that change. Then there is the opposition or the negative side, and they argue against the resolution. Their role is to defend the status quo. So where do you come in as a judge? Judges are responsible for awarding individual speaker points. In Canadian National Style of Debate, we have 2 speakers on the propositions team and then 2 speakers on the opposition team. The winning team in the round must have more points. Your role as a judge is to decide a winning team. If obligations of the debate are not met, for example, offering constructive argumentation, the winner must demonstrate the best debate skills. There are no draws allowed in debate. If you can't decide, the opposition wins by default. And judges are highly encouraged to give feedback. It's how we learn and grow. The reason for the law should always be the number of speaker points. So if team proposition has a total of 40 speaker points and team opposition has a total of 38 speaker points, then the proposition should win in that case. It is your role as a judge to calculate the number of points you award to each speaker, and then as a result, each team, and then the team, once again, with the most points cumulatively will win the round. In Canadian National Style Debate, we'll have the judges at the back of the room. To your left is the proposition, and then to your right is the opposition. And then directly in front of you will be our chair keepers and our timekeepers. They are wonderful volunteers, oftentimes, who are also giving up their weekend or their evening to support debate in our province. In Canadian National Style Debate, we have a few speeches to listen to. We begin with the first proposition, constructive speech. Then we head over to the first opposition constructive speech, the second proposition constructive speech, the second opposition constructive speech, the proposition rebuttal or reply speech, typically delivered, or at least in Canadian National Style Debate, it's always delivered by the first speaker, and then opposition rebuttal. Or I'll backtrack there for a second. First proposition constructive, first opposition constructive, second proposition constructive, second opposition constructive, and then opposition reply delivered by the first opposition speaker, and then the proposition reply or rebuttal speech delivered by the first proposition speaker. It's a common mistake to assume that the first proposition speaker will give the reply speech before first opposition, but we always go from second opposition to opposition reply, and then proposition reply will complete the debate. Feel free to take a look at that screenshot. of the flowchart. Take a picture if you'd like. I'll leave it up there for just a second. There we go. Continuing on, you may be able to find a flowchart on the back of your ballot as well. That's a friendly reminder to judges about the flow of debate. The first proposition speaker has the job of stating the resolution. They need to define the terms in simple layman's terms. That's the ideal way. It should be obvious in reference to the topic. For example, the right to bear arms refers to the right to use a gun or purchase a gun. To outline arguments and pillars, usually two, another one of their roles. To construct arguments with cited evidence, there's more on this later. To accept POIs. A POI is a point of information. It's an interjection in the form of a question or statement from the other team during a speech, more on this later. And then the burden of proof falls on team proposition. I will note that the first proposition speaker should define the terms simply, but also in a fair way to allow for a debate that is, in fact, debatable. First opposition will restate the resolution. They will respond to the definition of terms. 99% of the time, the terms proposed by the first proposition speaker are fair. We can move on. We get the show on the road. If in the 1% of cases the terms are not fair, then the first opposition speaker has the right to challenge the terms if the proposition's terms are unreasonable for a fair debate, and then they can present their own terms. Judges can reward the opposition team if the definitions are poor and properly challenged. Refutation is the act of undermining an opponent's arguments. More on this later. The first opposition speaker will normally present two constructive arguments, and they will also accept points of information. Second proposition and second opposition have relatively the same role. They offer refutation, so undermining the argumentation, the pillars, the points, the constructive material from their opposing side. They will restate and reconstruct their team's arguments. During the reconstruction phase, they need to prove why the clash or the refutation or the disagreement from their opposing side was insufficient to defeat their teammates' point. They will also outline and deliver final arguments, typically a single, strong, constructive argument that is well explained, and then they will also accept points of information. And then rebuttal and reply speeches. At our local level tournaments in Alberta, we have a 3-minute break between the second opposition speaker and the opposition reply. This gives debaters the opportunity to take and review their notes on what has happened so far in the round of debate. 3-minute breaks are not given at regionals and provincials. The reply speeches are the opportunity for teams to offer their final words, to summarize cases and refutation, and to explain why their team won the debate, why their team deserves the win on the ballot. And then during the rebuttal reply speeches, no new argumentation may be presented. New evidence to back up existing arguments, for example, an illustration or an example, is okay. No points of information may be offered. The general rule of thumb in a reply speech is that you are summarizing the round under key issues, key themes, key questions, and proving why your team deserves to win the round of debate. Decision. That's your job as judges. And judges should consider 4 main criteria in their decision: constructive argumentation and logic, refutation and points of information, evidence and research, and then delivery and etiquette. Constructive argumentation and logic. Every speech should contain persuasive arguments with impacts that are important. Their speech should be well structured, easy to follow with clear transitions, an effective introduction and conclusion, logical with well-explained cause and effect relationships, avoidance of errors that undermine their arguments, and then coherent, justified with consistent values. All arguments work together. They should be consistent rather than contradict each other. the importance or the impacts are significant when it comes to presenting argumentation. So debaters should take the extra step when and where possible to explain why you should care about their arguments or why you should care about their points and their case. Refutation or clash. This is when speakers engage with their opponent's arguments through targeted refutation. A line of refutation is a line of disagreement proving why a point in your opponent's pillar or argument is wrong and then explaining why you're right. And then refutation will also sometimes include rebuilding and defending your own case. Refutation and reconstruction are similar. Reconstruction is building up your own case after it was attacked or taken down by the other team, and then refutation is tearing down the other team's structure or foundation. Clash must refute arguments through logic or evidence. Contradiction is not clash. And then we need to keep track of successfully refuted arguments as judges. That will make our life easier. A point of information. This is an interjection in the form of a question or statement from the other team during a speech. Speakers engage with their opponent's arguments by strategically offering and responding to points of information. Points of information should be purposeful and effective. It's not a whack-a-mole. Every point of information should have a motive behind it. Give two, take two rule. This is more flexible. But we want to see debaters engaging with one another during the round of debate by offering points of information. They can be offered during constructive speeches, but they cannot be offered during the first and final minute of the first 4 speeches of the round, and then no POI is in those final 3-minute speeches delivered by the first proposition or first opposition first, and then first proposition speaker in the round. And debaters have the option to reject, accept, or hold a point of information. Evidence and research. Arguments are supported with anecdotes or researched evidence. An argument without evidence, without an example, for example, might not be as persuasive as one with an example or with a real-world connection. Evidence must be relevant to arguments presented as well. So if I'm giving an argument about why banning smoking promotes societal health, my evidence should relate to that claim, should relate to that outcome of the argument. Evidence reflects a speaker's strong understanding of the motion and its context. If a debater is able to deliver a persuasive argument with examples, with illustrations, that is what makes an argument persuasive. Credit should be given for thorough and relevant research in the case of a prepared round of debate, and then in the case of an impromptu round of the debate, where the debaters are given the topic 15 minutes before the round, then we need to give our debaters some credit for the existing knowledge and background that they have, and whether or not they apply that background strategically to advance their argumentation and to persuade the judges to support their claims. Facts, statistics, authorities, and anecdotes must be sound. Accuracy is critical. If a judge is certain evidence has been deliberately falsified or something is blatantly wrong, like the sky is green, points may be deducted only if the opposing team recognizes it. But in the case of something that is blatantly wrong, we don't want to see misleading information in debates. So judges are encouraged to listen attentively to the facts and the examples debaters present, and then debaters themselves should be presenting factual examples and illustrations, anecdotes, and evidence that have a real-world connection. That's the kind of analysis and evidence we want to see in debate. Delivery and etiquette, this goes without saying, but treat others the way you want to be treated. A debater who demonstrates poise and intentional use of voice for emphasis and enunciation is a good debater, a stylistic speaker. And that's not all the debate is about. Debate is also about presenting your argumentation in a clear and constructive way, but we want to see debaters strive to engage with their argument and their audience through the awareness of the judges. And they can do this by being effective with their gestures, by making eye contact, by employing humor and drama strategically, respectfully, and within reason. All of those elements can be considered under this category. Finally, the speaker is respectful toward their opponents throughout the debate. That is what we want to see in every round, in every tournament of ADSA debate and debate at large. As of 2024, we now have a new junior high debate ballot, and this will streamline the process. For the next few moments of the presentation, I'll zoom in and we'll walk through the key elements of the ballot for everyone. Step 1. We need to write or circle all of the identifying information for the ballot below. So that is, write your name, the moderator's name, and the room number. I would advise judges who have the ballots before the round, most cases you will, to fill out this information in advance. Your name, moderator's name, the room number, and get yourself ready for debate. Step 2, once our debaters enter the room, write down all the identifying information for each of the teams and speakers on the line below. Write in names as they appear in the draw or registration. That will help you stay organized as the tournament goes on. Step number 3, we will circle individual points for each speaker and category. All 4 criteria categories, whether it's constructive argumentation and logic, the refutation and point of information category, the evidence and research element, or the delivery and etiquette aspect, all of these are summarized in the middle of the ballot, right there in step 3 for us. So we need to consider each category separately and then award points accordingly. As you can see, the range is 4 to 6 for each category. And I will note that most individual category scores will be in the middle of the range. 4.5, you'd say, is below average. A 5 is average. A 5.5 is above average. And then some scores, in rare occasions, will be at the end of the range on each side. 4 being poor, and then 6 being great. So as you can see here in the constructive and argumentation category, I awarded, or the judge awarded, 6 points to the first proposition speaker. And then if we go to the delivery and etiquette category, the speaker appears to not have been the most respectful or enthusiastic or engaging speaker. So maybe they deserved a 4 in that case, and that's why the judge awarded the 4 in that category. And the same applies for the rest of the speakers in the round. We want to consider each category distinctly. Step 4 is to write the total individual speaker score for each speaker in the boxes on the left and the right. We need to add the individual points for each category to get the speaker's total individual speaker score. Going back to our first proposition example, for constructive argumentation and logic, we had a 6. Then in refutation and points of information, a 6. Evidence and research, a 6. Delivery and etiquette, a 4. So 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 4 is 22. And the same applies, adding up all of the scores awarded per category per speaker and then adding them below. The total individual speaker score for each speaker must be within the range of 16 and 24 points. Step number 5 is to write the total team score for the proposition and opposition team in the box below. For each team, add the total scores for each speaker to get the team score. The total score for each team must be within the range of 32 and 48 points. And then step number 5 is to write the total team score for the proposition and opposition team in the box below. There cannot be a tie. The proposition team total score and the opposition team total score must be different. In this case, we had a total team score of 42 for team proposition, and then a total team score of 44 for the opposition. In this case, the opposition will win. And then on the ballot, our handy dandy ballot, you will circle the team with the highest total points below. In this case, we would circle team opposition. Step number 6, circle the winning team below. The team with the highest total points is the winner. I cannot emphasize that enough. Please take the time, use a calculator if you'd like, to add up the scores correctly for each speaker, and then as such, add up the scores for each team together. Let's talk about an effective use of the scoring range. Common speaker scores, 18, maybe below average, 19 to 21, average, 22, above average. That's the range I would suggest that we go with. The majority of speeches would receive scores in this range, so between 18 to 22. Uncommon speaker scores, 17 being a poor one, 23 being great. A speech this low, 17, would be made by a speaker that you think could finish as a bottom 3 speaker at the tournament, and then a speech this high, perhaps 23, would be made by a speaker that you think could finish as a top 3 speaker at the tournament. Rare speaker scores, 16 being limited, 24 being outstanding. A speech this low at 16 could not be worse, and a speech this high at 24 could be better. You would definitely expect a speaker giving this quality of a speech to be bottom 3 or top 3 at the tournament. So if a speaker was awarded a 16, they likely will rank within the bottom 3 at the tournament. If they were given a 24, likely a top 3 speaker at the tournament. But I'd say stick within the 17 and 23 range. 16 and 24 are rare scores, and the speech might be limited on the low side with a 16, and then it has to be truly outstanding for a judge to award a 24. So just keep that range in mind after scoring debaters following the round. Scoring range. You may be able to find a scoring range on the back of your ballot as well. I'd encourage everyone to take a second and just give this slide a photo, or take a photo of it, rather, with your phone camera, and then you have this for reference in the unlikely case that it's not mentioned in the back of your ballot. So as we can see here, we have 16 speaker points, limited speech, 17 is poor, 18 is a below average speech, 19 to 21, an average speech that a judge would expect from a speaker that would place somewhere in the middle of the standings, 22 an above average speech, 23 a great speech. The speaker might rank within the top 3 at the tournament, and then 24 an outstanding speech, definitely ranking top 3 at the tournament. And then we have some statistics here at the bottom for our friends in the crowd who like to know the numbers. Feedback. This is one of our last slides in the presentation. Feedback is a way for debaters to improve, to build on their skills. It's optional, highly recommended. Debaters always have room for growth. I've done debate since I was in grade 8, and now I'm in university, and there is always room to grow. There is always room for improvement. Feedback should be precise, to the point. It should deal with the most significant areas of growth. It also needs to be concise. So keep it brief, avoid repetition. If one judge has made a comment about a certain area of the ballot for a speaker, for example, their engagement with the audience, then perhaps offer feedback in a different area for the debater to consider. Stay positive and constructive. Remember that you are always right. Debaters have no right to argue with their judges. And then any other notes, I'd say keep it kind, keep it respectful with the feedback. Debaters are eager to improve, but many of them will have limited experience and they're only beginning their debate careers or their debate experiences. And we want to foster a nurturing, respectful, and encouraging environment for all of our debaters, regardless of their skill, ability, background, or passion. For the debater who's seasoned, we want them to continue improving. And for a debater who is attending their first tournament, we also want them to take an interest in the activity and to continue to improve as well. With that being said, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to my debate briefing. Thank you again for giving up your evening or your weekend for debate. It's a wonderful activity. I hope you enjoy your rounds, and I also hope that the tournament is a rewarding experience for everyone here, whether it be the organizers who are putting on the show for you this evening or this weekend, or whether or not you're a judge and this is your first or your 40th round of judging debate. I hope you have a great time, and the organizers would be happy to answer more questions on the organization's behalf about junior high debate. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.